Exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this is really helpful. And of course, moving on to the next part of our question, it is, um, you decided that MIM might be a good fit for me, right? And I want to pursue this course. What was the whole process of 1 year, 6 months, right from the start, right? And getting admission and ending up getting admission into one of the top business schools of the world, right? So just take us through the whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I knew that I wanted to do something like MIM, but I didn't know what programs exist out there. So my first step was, of course, visit Prashant sir and get to know what programs are out there and which countries I should apply to, what would fit my sort of career goals. And I think it was a very fruitful discussion, and we know it now, looking back. But yeah, that was the first step to really understand where I wanted to apply and which country makes sense. And then I did that, I would say, about 6 to 8 months before I applied to Duke. So that was sometime in the summer of 2020. And then I started prepping for GRE rigorously. So also something that then I attended classes at the Globalizers for that. And I was also in the side working on my essays or internship experience to highlight in my essays or in my resume. So I was working on that, and then also again focusing on my GPA because I was still I had just begun my final year in my undergrad. And I know that these application process look at all of your experience and grades and test scores holistically. So I decided to focus on everything as much as I could. When the time to apply came, somewhere early in 2021, I took more help here with Girish sir and Prashant sir with the essays, getting them revised, and getting an idea of what I should include or exclude in the essays. And then came the interview. So that is also something that I was very nervous about because I had not done anything like that before. So taking the help again here from Prashant and Girish sir, I focused on my communication, not getting stressed out. If someone asks me anything, I guess too difficult for me, not getting very nervous about that. So I think that really helped again as well in my interview. And then, of course, the easiest step is to hear back and hear a yes. So I think that's, I would say, in summary, my journey and getting into Duke.
Wonderful. So overall, of course, you've been a part of Duke community. So, and you were absolutely not from core engineering background, right? And
Yeah.
almost like from humanities, right? And
Yeah.
despite of that, you worked hard and got, I think, how much? 318, I guess I still remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So, just spread a word and let us know that how was your GRE prep, and students coming from any background can score well in GRE, provided they work hard.
Yeah, of course. I was also kind of worried about my background because I saw that a lot of people, specifically in India and also in general, when people get into these master's degree, they especially in management and stuff like that, they always come from engineering backgrounds or at least a business or an economics background. And I got my degree in international relations, and people didn't even know what that was. So I was very worried about that. But again, I just want to second Prashant's statement that anyone can, I would say, get into these universities, do these programs, and also for GRE, it's not an obstacle by any way. I would say that just practicing in the right way and doing things the right manner can easily help with GRE scores.
Wonderful. So if I summarize, work hard for GRE, prepare well for your essays in advance, right? The story should come out, right?
For
And
sure. Yeah.
how was the interview when you get, of course, selected? I must tell you that, we know that you're also into alumni interview board now. So you have been taking interviews now, right? So for the applicants, but I want to know from you, what was your interview experience? What exactly these guys focus on, right, when they want to interview any applicant?
Right, yeah. So specifically for, I would say, North America, the US and Canada, I saw that the interviewers tend to be more, I would say, like casual than we are used to, more conversational. So I think it really helps with the stress level a bit. But I think something also to know is that you can be really like open, of course, in a professional manner with them, and actually they would like it and they would see it as you being confident. So it's just, the interview was just like a regular conversation, just a role play, and as if a friend was asking me, just like Prashant sir, why I'm interested in Duke or what do I aim to achieve out of it, and just putting that and just pretending that you're talking to a friend just like really helped. I would say that towards the end of the interview, I was telling him that what I'm really interested is like all of the restaurants and food places around Duke, and that's also one of the reasons why I want to come to Duke. And that guy literally sent me an Excel sheet of all of the restaurants that he knew. So I think they can be that level of casual with you, and I think that's a thing that I really appreciated, at least.
Great. So keep things conversational and feel free to communicate.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, know more about the Duke and the entire community and what it has to offer.
For sure. And when I take interviews, I know that people can get very nervous, but I really appreciate it when they tell me what professionally and personally also they're looking for when they come to Duke, or how they can contribute.
Great. So of course, now the good news, you got offer letter, right? You got the visa, no doubts about that. And then, of course, reaching Duke, first time going, for like studying abroad program out of India. What were the apprehensions? And eventually, when you were in the university, what was that whole experience like? I think it was what, 10 months or 12-month program?
Yeah, 10 months.
Yeah, so it
So
must have gone in a jiffy. So I want to know that whole, experience. How was that?
sir, your voice broke a little bit. Could you repeat
Yeah.
like the last
So I
sentence?
was just focusing that what was Duke experience like, right? So, we're very thrilled to hear that. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say like a couple apprehensions that I would say a lot of people have, and I had as well. Number one, will I be able to really like thrive and succeed academically or in the program? Number two, will I be able to settle into the community and the life in the US in general? Like be able to make friends? Are people even friendly there? Will I get the international exposure that I need? And number three, I would say the biggest one of them all is that will I be able to get a job in like such a tough and competitive climate after graduating? So I would say that I would say that for all of these three,
Hello.
I was able to get over all of these, and I think it was a great experience overall. I would say that the focus here is always just not focusing on the grades, but also focusing on things outside of classroom, ways you can contribute to Duke outside of classroom, and then that eventually also helps you when you are looking for jobs. And I would say that the Duke community and the Fuqua community as well, they are always very happy to help you. I remember I just walked up to strangers to ask random things, or I seek help, even for job searching. I would just go up to random people or reach out to them on LinkedIn, and everyone is super helpful. Something that I had heard about when I spoke to people before joining, and something that I'm experiencing every day.
Wonderful. What was the, let's say, academic challenge, like bachelor's from a different field and master's in an entirely new field? So was there any academic challenges that you had to overcome in terms of assignments or a subject or in anything, in any sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because the subjects that were part of the program were things that I had not studied before. So again, things like finance, things like capital markets, um, and accounting, for example. And these were very quant heavy topics. And especially for these, I had no background. And sitting in a master's class, it is, of course, a bit more in depth than an undergrad. So for me, I think that I was also kind of worried about that. But I would say that the professors were really, really helpful. And then they would have their teaching assistants that would have sessions outside of class that I could always get my queries answered. And most importantly, the peer community is also something that I really cherished, because everybody would just help each other out. And everybody came from different backgrounds. And according to Fuqua, that's what makes that business school because it's important to in businesses, everybody comes from different background, and that really helps have different perspectives. So I think I started to not be, I would say, embarrassed or worried about my unconventional background, but rather embrace it. And I would say that that really helped in me also succeeding academically in the program.
Good. So some courses were definitely quant heavy, and you could manage them at the end of the day.
For sure, yeah. And a lot of the assignments are group assignments or team assignments. So it's always a collaborative approach, and you don't even think about grades. You're just discussing things with your friends. And I think that's really nice that that's the way the curriculum is.
Correct. Wonderful. So, of course, moving on to, one of the aspects that you just mentioned, that one of the fears while you left for United States was, of course, coping up the courses, going into a new environment. But one of the biggest of them is whether I get a job or not, right? And you really got a great job. So we want to know the whole process, right? Did that start right from the day one, or when was that time that you now started gearing up for, placement, started the application process, applying to multiple companies? What was that, like?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having this conversation with you, sir, as well, when I was shortlisting programs. And I would say that the biggest thing that you can do early and in advance is that when you're shortlisting programs, make sure that you read about their career outcomes. I think that really saved me a lot, because I had a couple universities to choose from, and I chose Duke because of the employment outcomes. So I think that's step number one, to always know that. And then for me, when I joined the program, again, I did not have the experience. So I think for the first, I would say 6 months, I was just settling in and I was building that experience. And I would say in after the first 6 months, I started to apply to jobs. But I would say that when I was in the program, it doesn't mean that I was not applying or not preparing for recruiting. I was talking to people, talking to my peers, the seniors that had already graduated, the MBA folks, and learning about what types of opportunities are available for me, and how I can best build my experience at Duke to be ready for those opportunities. So the first few months were a focus on that. And then a little closer to graduation is when most people get jobs or get interviews, because a lot of the companies are looking to hire sooner rather than later. So that is also when I started interviewing and applying. And I would say that the Duke Career Office is super helpful in preparing you for your interviews and helping you with your resume, helping you with choosing what career path to take. So I think that was something that was really helpful for me, coming from a place where I didn't have that experience. And I quickly realized that I want a career in management consulting, and that's how I did my targeted prep for that.
Great. So, in a sample size, how many companies you applied, and, what was the, selection process? Was there an interview, or you have to go through phases of interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I applied to, I would say, like maybe 70 or 80 companies, and a lot of people do more. It's just that for me, I tried to apply to companies and not just throw my resume out, but also really reach out to the people working in the companies and tell them how I can contribute and reinforce my interest. And I think that really, really helped me get to the first step, which is the interviews. And then most of the companies, specifically in consulting, do multiple rounds of interviews. And again, specifically for consulting, they also want to know why you're applying and how you can help. But at the same time, they also want to check and test your business acumen. So they would just ask you random questions like, oh, so how many coffees do you think that people drink in New York City on a given day? And that to me was very intimidating. But I would say, again, this is where all of my classmates, the career office, YouTube helped, and so I think it was a great learning experience, but also it's made me more confident now speaking in front of people and doing interviews.
Great. And so we would want to know where you work and what's your designation.
Yeah, absolutely. So after graduation, I actually started working again in consulting as an associate consultant at a small or boutique consulting firm. It's called Keystone Strategy. So that was in New York, and I was there for a year. And then I recently made my switch to another consulting company. It's called DHL Consulting, and I am again a consultant here in Miami, Florida. In both of the places, I was doing consulting. The difference is that the first firm mostly focused on tech companies, so working with Google, working with Meta and Facebook. Meta and Facebook are the same things. Working with those types of companies, and then DHL Consulting focuses on different types of companies, I would say, not just tech.
Wow. So now you must be enjoying the role as a consultant. And how do you see your, coming years now?
Yeah, I would say that, a consultant is really like a doctor for businesses, right? And they just, businesses reach out to consulting firms or consultants to help with problems, and they help to solve them. And I think that this is something that is really a value add early in the career. At least this is what I felt for myself, because I'm now able to get a feeling, a flavor of different types of industries, different types of companies in the US, and then also understand what problems and challenges these businesses face. So I would say that right now in the short term, I would continue to be in consulting, but in the longer term, I would want to switch over to one of these companies, preferably in a strategy or a finance position.
Great, amazing. And I presume you must be one of the youngest consultants in and around your peers.
Yeah, I think so too. Even at Duke, I felt that I was one of the youngest.
Great, that sounds good. Amazing, good. Keep going, Aditi. So, of course, moving on to our next question. A lot of students would want to study abroad. They want to pursue MIM, but of course, a lot of courses, and these days analytics has been one of the dominant forces, right? I want to know that what skills you would want in the applicants, and how they should prepare if they want to go for an MIM, right? What preparations they should be doing for last 4 or 5 months before starting the program.
Yeah. I mean, sir, I know that you already know the best answer to that. And I guess I would also again echo what you always say. Number one, you should have the general test scores, language scores, TOEFL scores ready. And I would say then comes the personalized prep for each program or each school. And for that, you need to have a good reason why you are doing this, because they would ask you about this a lot in the essays, in the interviews. So this why could come from your previous experience in business, or you took a course and you really enjoyed it and that's what you want to do, or maybe you did an internship, anything that motivated you to pursue this. And it's always good to be open and honest, instead of trying to, I don't know, copy what everyone else is saying. For me, like, I was very honest that I don't have this educational background. However, that's also more of the reason why I wanted to do MIM. And I think that's one skill. And then again, in the interviews, it's really important to get your point across in a confident manner, and not feel like the interviewer should not feel that you have rehearsed something and you're just regurgitating. It should feel more natural. And of course, you're talking about your future and what you want to do. So I think that should already reflect.
I'm sorry, and I think I might not have phrased the question well. I'm talking about those skill sets which might help them in pursuing the course, like any computer skills, any mathematical skills, or on those, on that aspect. My question was actually,
Yeah, I think that, yes, for sure. I would say two things. Number one, again, it's kind of similar. Learning how to communicate effectively is one thing that people really underestimate. And then again, the second is that numerical skills. I think that for most people, because they prepare for GRE, and then a lot of people have that quantitative background in their undergrad, and even just in schools, we are more comfortable with that. But of course, if you're not, then that's also something to have before starting MIM. But again, the communication part, a lot of people forget. This is something that is important also to get a job, because again, in the classes, you need to be more visible and you need to get your point across, because your grades depend on it. The professor will cold call you and will ask you to why you think the way you think, and you need to be able to answer that. And then again, it will also really, really help when you're looking for jobs.
Any computing skills you would emphasize? SQL, Python, how mandatory would be that?
So the MIM programs are usually more, sorry, so you froze. I don't know if it's my internet. I'm not sure if you can still hear me.
Yeah, it's a little bit the voice is breaking, but yes, I can hear now.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so most MIMs are more general than, I would say, a data analytics program or like an engineering management program. I would say that from a job perspective, having a basic knowledge of Excel and SQL, I would say is really important. By no means do they expect you to know all these things before you start, but it's always good to know. And then again, I would say for Python or anything too specific like R, Python, it totally depends if you're interested in an analytics career after the program. And if you are, then that's definitely something that is helpful.
So it's not mandatory if you're going for an MIM program. You can tailor the course in those ways where you can avoid these quantitative and computing things.
Yes, exactly. For me, I focused more on my financial analysis. I used a lot more Excel and tried to learn the finance basics. That's what helped me. And again, the program at Duke definitely is not that analytics focused, even though it's a STEM program.
So in those 10 months, did you specialize or was it a potpourri of various courses?
Yeah, so the latter. So every 6 weeks, the classes would change. But that also meant that they would make it very, very rigorous for those 6 weeks. And then again, they offered some extra electives or classes in analytics. And I think it's great for international students because then they can take those classes and not only will they get those analytic skills for their job hunt, but that would also qualify them for a STEM-based work permit. So I think that's always a good thing. This is also what I did, and they didn't expect me to know anything beforehand, and they taught me analytics from scratch. So if you're interested in analytics as well, I think that's always a good way to go about it.
Fantastic. Of course, one of the common questions that I would want to know, of course, Duke, no doubt, is one of the best places in the world. But now, overall, of course, the question keeps coming because study abroad, one of the commonest confusions is, okay, should we go to this country or that country, right? So overall, how has been your American experience, right? Of course, I don't want to use the fancy terms like American dream and all, right? I know you're doing great career-wise, but want to know what is your opinion on US as a study abroad destination and maybe for future prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. I do firmly stand by this decision of coming to America. And I remember distinctly telling Prashant sir that, oh, I hate the political system there. Why don't I just only apply to the UK and Canada? I really don't want to go to America. But when Sir suggested me Duke, he suggested me Cornell, and I actually looked at their curriculum. I could see why America is a hotspot for study abroad. And yeah, so I totally agree with that sentiment. I think that the curriculum is much more, I would say, practical and skills focused rather than academic. And that really helps with in industries like management and engineering. So I think that's that. And the job opportunities. People do say it's competitive, and of course it is competitive, but the amount of opportunities as well as the quality of opportunities, both of them are really high. I don't think I need to also talk about how the benefits and compensation in America is generally higher than other countries, so that is always a plus. And most importantly, in general, and I spent a month in Europe in August, and I generally think that people in America are much more open, much more receptive to talk to you. So integrating into, I would say, the culture and the lifestyle of the country is much easier, I feel, in America as well.
Great answer. And I totally, share the sentiment because in terms of compensation and overall number of opportunities, with due respect to every country, and they receive great international students, and they would have their fair share of opportunities being landed to these students. But US stands out in terms of compensation and the number of opportunities that they have.
Absolutely. And just how big the country is, there's so many cities and towns that you can work or live in. For me, when I was considering countries in Europe, like the UK and France, most people gravitate towards Paris or London, or, in Canada, for example, Toronto and Vancouver. But I think in the US, it's so large, and and there are good opportunities everywhere. I spent my first, last year in New York, and at this time in Miami. So I think that, and there's so many more cities to explore. So I think that's also really good for, I would say, career opportunities.
Wonderful. I'm sure you must be liking the weather of Miami way more than what it
Yeah,
was in New
definitely.
York.
For sure. Yeah.
Lovely. And of course, one of the last questions before the interviewers, our applicants and our aspirants can prepare their questions and get them ready in a typed way. Of course, the general summary of we work closely. It was your dream, and then we always believe that it was our dream too. So of course, that having spent almost 1 year with you, how was your experience, and what is your message for all the study abroad aspirants?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that Globalizers was a huge part of my journey. And I know I've already said that, but I would really like to emphasize this because you may have, you may be able to work hard, but I think how you should be doing that or in which direction you should be doing that, I think that's something that Globalizers can really, really help and support with. Even, I mean, as I've already said, even with the first step, when shortlisting universities, I think, Prashant sir's advice was something that was very, very useful. So I think that overall, it was really helpful to have his support with shortlisting, with GRE, with essays, and then also with interviews and then visa prep. So I would say that whatever pieces you're not confident or comfortable about or you don't know about, Globalizers is there to support you and go with their questions. And Prashant sir is always so patient in answering all of them.
Thank you. And what would you want to advise to fellow aspirants that, study abroad is a dream for so many, right? So, what is your words of encouragement for them?
Yeah, I think number one, very cliche, is that if you work hard towards anything, you will achieve it. You don't have to be from a traditional background. And then number two is that you should be very clear about, or try to be as clear about what you want. That would help you in the prep work, in the country, in the program, and even after that.
Great, amazing. And of course, I must admit that, of course, it's a webinar, it's for all of, but it is also my personal bias to connect to you again and to know you again and, see you in a different orbit. So now I've experienced your new orbit and it feels so fantastic.
No, I would say that I'm really grateful for all of your help and support in contributing to this new orbit.
Great. So I think if any attendees have any question, they can send it in, Ashrada, Aditi, anyone. You can type your question in the chat box and send it across. And then, of course, Aditi has her long day ahead. Ashda has a question. Do you recall what your interview was like? It's the component that I'm most nervous. So I'll tell you, Aditi, Ashda is one of our very competitive students this year. She would be aiming at Masters of Marketing and most of the management programs, though you've already shed the light on it. And Ashda, I must tell you that Aditi also takes the interview of applicants, who, because she's gone through that program, and Duke has this wonderful culture of, letting their, alums, assess the, applicants. So of course, Aditi can answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that I understand that it can be very nerve-wracking, but again, it's just a conversation, and what they're looking for is number one, your motivation to go to that program. Number two, how you can contribute, and number three, if you can fit in with the culture. So I think these are all things that you can prepare beforehand, so there are no surprises in the interview itself. So again, first thing, why that particular program, again, that's something that you should be really clear about. And number two, the ways in which you can contribute, and then the culture at that particular school. Do a lot of research on their website and know exactly, for example, what clubs you would want to join, or what classes you would want to take if they give you options, what professors maybe you would want to talk to, and then talk to the people that are studying there or have studied there. For every school, I at least spoke to at least 3 people from that program. So they would tell you exactly what they liked about their time at that school, and then you can use that as inspiration for your answers in the interview.
Fantastic. So Ashida, usually not to worry about, just be confident and have a whole idea about your application and about that school. Uh, I think Pooja has an interesting question, Aditi. Can you talk a bit about your role as a consultant? Like, what is your day-to-day work around?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is exactly like this is how I explain it to my parents who are doctors. So I always tell them that a consultant is a doctor. They just diagnose problems of different businesses. So, a company, for example, I don't know, Netflix would come to my company and say that, hey, we're having issues with declining profits. We don't know what that is. I don't know. Help us out. And then the consulting firm would make a team of consultants or senior consultant, a manager, and they would place that team with Netflix so that that team can work with Netflix and understand their problems. So then for me as a consultant, my day-to-day is talking to the client team and understanding what help they need, asking for the right type of information from them so that I can understand what the issue is. So that requires me to have a little bit of analytical mindset to analyze the data that they give me. And then once I know I can diagnose the problem, I can talk about it in meetings with them. Again, it's a very collaborative approach. So I not only collaborate with the team, my team at DHL Consulting, but then also with the client team to talk about the problems and then what could be the potential solutions and how we could implement that. So the skills you would typically need is analytical mindset, being a good communicator, and then knowing your way around things like PowerPoint, Excel, a little bit of SQL, a little bit of Power BI.
Great, great. So using all these tools and, trying to come with the possible solutions of the problems.
Correct. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Any more questions, attendees? Wonderful. So when are you planning to come back for India visit, Aditi?
Sometime in December for sure.
Great. You come back and we have a meeting in the office soon.
Absolutely.
Great. So Aditi, on behalf of Globalizers and entire team, it's a heartfelt gratitude for sharing your time and entire experience with us. And I'm sure it was definitely enlightening for all of us here. So we thank you and we wish you all the best for your future journey. And without any doubts, we are super proud of you.
No, and I think it feels really good to be in touch with you, sir. And then also, I know I have been in this position and attending webinars, so it always feels really nice to be able to help people. So again, if I can support in any way in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much. And we catch up soon and have a great day and weekend ahead.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.